America's Great Escape 12 Cities Everyone's Leaving in 2025. Hey everyone! Let's talk about something kind of depressing but also super interesting. People leaving cities. I know, right? Cities, those bastions of opportunity and excitement. Turns out, not so much for everyone. As we roll into 2025, the US is seeing a huge shift in where people want to live. And a lot of once booming cities are, well, not booming. In fact, they're shrinking. Think rising costs of living, crumbling roads, and safety concerns, you know, the light stuff. So, we're diving deep into the top 12 US cities experiencing the fastest population decline. Buckle up because we're about to explore the why behind the where. Let's get to it. First up, we're heading to the shores of Lake Erie to Cleveland, Ohio. The rock and roll capital of the world, nearly 10,000 people decided to rock and roll right out of town in the past year. The winters are brutal, poverty's a real problem, and public services? Let's just say they've seen better days. Even the Browns have threatened to leave twice, and that should tell you something. Cleveland has its charms, a vibrant art scene, killer museums, and sometimes the Browns even win a game. But for many, the snowdrifts and lack of jobs are just too much to handle. Next, we're heading south to New Orleans, Louisiana, a city that needs no introduction. Mardi Gras, jazz music, beignets, what's not to love? Well, the crumbling infrastructure, the ever-present threat of hurricanes, and the crime rate. It's a shame because New Orleans has such a unique culture, a vibrancy that's hard to find anywhere else. But that vibrancy can't quite drown out the sound of nearly 10,000 people packing their bags in 2024. Imagine living in a city where every time it rains, you're worried about flooding, where the roads are more pothole than pavement. So, while tourists flock to Bourbon Street for a taste of that big easy magic, the people who actually live there are facing some pretty tough realities. Our next stop takes us north to the Motor City Detroit, Michigan. Once the heart of American industry, Detroit's been struggling for decades. We're talking population decline on a massive scale, over 11,000 people just last year. The decline of the auto industry hit Detroit hard, and the city's still reeling from the impact. Jobs are scarce, crime is a major issue, and the infrastructure, well, let's just say it needs some work. There are glimmers of hope, though. Downtown Detroit has seen some revitalization, with new businesses and apartment buildings popping up. And the city's rich musical legacy continues to thrive, even as its population dwindles. But for many Detroiters, those glimmers aren't enough. The challenges are just too big, the problems too deeply entrenched. Chapter 4. Baltimore. Charm City, losing its shine. From Motown to Charm City, our next stop is Baltimore, Maryland. Home to crab cakes, Edgar Allan Poe, and The Wire. Baltimore's a city of contradictions. It's got a gritty charm, but it's also grappling with some serious issues like a high crime rate and struggling schools. Over 13,000 people called it quits on Baltimore last year, and it's not hard to see why. The city's been trying to revitalize its downtown area, and there have been some successes. But for many residents, those successes feel a world away from the realities of their daily lives. The problems in Baltimore are systemic, deeply rooted in poverty, inequality, and a lack of opportunity. Chapter 5. Los Angeles. The City of Broken Dreams? Next, we're heading west to the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. Land of sunshine, beaches, and, well, traffic. Lots and lots of traffic. LA's always been a city of dreams, but lately, those dreams have been getting a lot harder to achieve. Over 20,000 people left LA in 2024, priced out by the sky-high cost of living. We're talking about a city where a one-bedroom apartment can easily set you back $3,000 a month. Even for people working in the entertainment industry, the city that was once synonymous with opportunity is now feeling increasingly out of reach. The beaches are still beautiful, the weather's still great, but for many, the dream of making it in LA has turned into a nightmare of just trying to survive. It's a city trying to reinvent itself, but it's a long, hard road back. Chapter 6. Memphis Blues on Beale Street and beyond. Let's head to Memphis, Tennessee, the home of the blues, Elvis, and some of the best barbecue on the planet. But even the allure of dry-rubbed ribs and soulful music can't mask the challenges facing this city. Over 21,000 people left Memphis in 2024, driven away by a lack of jobs, high crime rates, and a struggling education system. It's a familiar story, unfortunately, a city with a rich cultural heritage, but lacking the resources and opportunities to keep its residents from leaving. There's a certain sadness to it. a sense that a city like Memphis, with so much to offer, is being held back by forces beyond its control. Chapter 7. New York City, the Big Apple, shrinking bite. Next up, we're tackling the Big Apple itself, New York City. The city that never sleeps is starting to lose a little bit of its luster, with over 30,000 residents saying goodbye in 2024. The cost of living in New York has always been high, but in recent years it's become downright unsustainable for many. Add in the crowds, the noise, and the general chaos that is New York City, and it's no wonder people are starting to look elsewhere. The pandemic hit New York particularly hard, and the city's still recovering. Many of the jobs that once drew people to the city have disappeared, and the allure of the New York experience has faded for some. Chapter 8, San Francisco, Tech Boom Housing Bust. Let's head back to California, to the city by the bay, San Francisco, home to the Golden Gate Bridge, sourdough bread, and of course, Silicon Valley. San Francisco has always been a city of innovation, but it's also become a cautionary tale of what happens when the gap between the haves and the have-nots grows too wide. Over 15,000 people left San Francisco in 2024, priced out by the exorbitant cost of housing. The tech boom brought with it an influx of wealth, but it also drove up housing prices to astronomical levels. The result is a city that's becoming increasingly homogeneous, populated by the very wealthy and those struggling to get by. Chapter 9. Chicago, the Windy City, blown away by change. From the Golden Gate to the shores of Lake Michigan, our next stop is Chicago, Illinois. The Windy City, home to deep dish pizza, blues music, and, yes, those infamous winters. Chicago's a city with a lot to offer, but it's also a city facing some serious challenges. Over 17,000 people left Chicago in 2024, driven away by a combination of factors, including high taxes, crime, and yes, the weather. Chicago's winters are no joke, and for people who can afford to live elsewhere, they're a major deterrent. But the weather's just one piece of the puzzle. Chicago's also grappling with a high cost of living, particularly when it comes to housing. It's a complex mix of factors that's leading people to leave Chicago, and there's no easy solution. Chapter 10. St. Louis, gateway to somewhere else? Let's head to the heartland of America, to St. Louis, Missouri. Home to the Gateway Arch, toasted ravioli, and, unfortunately, a shrinking population. St. Louis lost over 8,000 residents in 2024, continuing a decades-long trend of decline. The city has struggled to attract new residents and businesses, and its infrastructure has suffered as a result. The decline of the manufacturing industry hit St. Louis hard, and the city has yet to fully recover. There have been efforts to revitalize the downtown area, but progress has been slow. For many St. Louisans, the city simply doesn't offer the same opportunities as other parts of the country. It's a story we've heard before, a city with a rich history, but struggling to adapt to the challenges of the 21st century. The question is, can St. Louis turn things around? Chapter 11. Portland, from weird to worried. Let's head back to the Pacific Northwest, to Portland, Oregon. Known for its craft beer, its coffee, and its Keep Portland Weird ethos, Portland has long been a magnet for creative types and free spirits. But even Portland isn't immune to the challenges facing cities across the country. Rising housing costs, increasing homelessness, and a growing sense of unease have led thousands of Portlanders to pack their bags in recent years. The result is a city that's struggling to maintain its quirky charm in the face of rapid change. Chapter 12. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly, exodus, and finally we arrive at our last stop, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Over 22,000 people left Philadelphia in 2024, driven away by a combination of factors including high crime rates, a struggling school system, and a lack of economic opportunity. Philadelphia has a long and storied history, but it's also a city that's been grappling with deep-seated problems for decades. It's a city that's at a crossroads, trying to figure out how to address its challenges and create a brighter future for its residents. Outro. So where do we go from here? So there you have it, the 12 U.S. cities experiencing the fastest population decline. From coast to coast, these urban centers are grappling with complex issues from economic hardship and crumbling infrastructure to concerns about safety and affordability. It's a stark reminder that the American dream isn't always accessible to everyone, and that even in the land of opportunity, many feel left behind. As we move forward, These population shifts will continue to reshape the fabric of urban America. The question is, what does the future hold for these cities and for the people who call them home? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.